Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Russia-US talks on Ukraine peace plan yield no breakthrough. Kremlin says no compromise reached on territory. Trump calls Ukraine conflict a mess. Dissent among US lawmakers as military continue to surge assets to the Caribbean. Lawmakers threaten vote on war powers. Trump warns US drug trafficking countries could face attack. Indian Navy will showcase its operational might across all domains as the force begins celebrations in Thiruvananthapuram ahead of Navy Day. President Draupadi Murmu to grace the occasion. India I Series win as they take on South Africa in the second one-day international in Raipur today. Kremlin described the Ukraine peace talks as constructive but said no compromise had been reached on territorial questions. The comments came after talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin, US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner held nearly for 5 hours in Moscow.
So pleased to see you.
5 hours of talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US negotiators, including Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, failed to produce a breakthrough on securing Ukraine peace deal. Kremlin spokesperson said, though the meeting was constructive, but parts of the plan remained unacceptable to Russia.
The conversation was very useful, constructive and very meaningful. It lasted not for 5 minutes but for 5 hours. Naturally, we discussed with US colleagues the content of those drafts, those documents which the Americans submitted to Moscow some time ago. We went through these documents. We did not discuss any specific formulas, any specific American proposals. We could agree with certain things and the president confirmed this to his interlocutors. We criticized some things and the president did not hide a critical, even negative attitude to a number of proposals.
Just before the meeting, Putin said changes proposed by Kyiv and Europe to a US-backed draft peace plan were unacceptable. He said Russia did not want a war with European powers but was ready to fight if Europe did want a direct conflict with Moscow.
We are not planning to fight Europe. I've said this 100 times. But if Europe suddenly decides to wage war against us and starts it, we are ready right now. There can be no doubt about that. The question is, if Europe starts a war with us, I believe that very quickly. This is not Ukraine. With Ukraine, we act in a surgical, careful way. You understand, right? It is not war in the full modern sense of the word. If Europe chooses to start a war, the situation can very quickly reach a point where there will be no one left for us to negotiate with.
While Tuesday's talks were underway, Trump told his cabinet in Washington that the conflict had not been easy to resolve, describing it as a mess.
As you know, we have a problem with a war that our people are trying to settle now with Russia and Ukraine, but we're trying to get that settled. I've settled 8 wars. This would be the 9th, and our people are over in Russia right now to see if we can get it settled. Not an easy situation, let me tell you. What a mess. It's a war that never would have happened if I were president. Not even a chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years.
Ukrainian president thanked Ireland for its support during a visit to Dublin on Tuesday, telling lawmakers that unity among Ukraine's partners had become a main weapon in conflict. Ukrainian representatives have held 2 rounds of high-level talks on the draft plan in recent weeks, which have been attended by Witkoff, Kushner, and US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Bureau Report, DD India.
NATO foreign ministers meet will be held in Brussels on Wednesday for talks dominated by future of Ukraine and unease among allies over a US-backed peace plan. The meeting, one of only 2 formal ministerials on NATO's annual calendar, was expected to showcase unity as allies review progress since the Hague summit and begin preparing for the 2026 summit in Ankara. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will skip the key meeting, with deputy attending in his place. Much of Wednesday's closed-door debate is expected to center on the peace plan, which European and Ukrainian officials have spent the past 2 weeks rewriting. European leaders insist that only Ukraine can decide on its own territories, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says security guarantees and preserving sovereignty are top priorities. U.S. lawmakers who have long opposed President Donald Trump's aggressive approach to Venezuela warned on Tuesday that they will introduce a new resolution requiring a congressional vote if the administration launches a strike inside the country. Senators Tim Kaine, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff and Rand Paul said unauthorized military action would be dangerous and unacceptable. A separate House resolution was also filed to block any hostilities without congressional approval. Their concerns grew as U.S. forces conducted over 20 strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats since September, killing more than 80 people. Lawmakers from both parties fear Trump is waging a months-long campaign without approval, especially after reports that a second strike ordered on survivors may violate international law. U.S. military activity intensified in the Caribbean on Tuesday, with Navy ships and jets seen around Ponce, Puerto Rico. Reuters footage captured the USS Stockdale DDG-106 and USS Mahan DDG-72 docked at Puerto de las Americas, while military aircraft flew over Marcedita International Airport. The increased presence comes as Washington maintains heavy pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. His prospects for a U.S. brokered safe exit have diminished after a brief call last month in which President Donald Trump dismissed most of his conditions, sources said. Trump has since declared Venezuela's entire airspace closed, and Puerto Rico's military facilities are increasingly functioning as strategic staging point for U.S. operations related to the Venezuelan crisis. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Tuesday that the administration supports its military commanders' decisions in the recent operations targeting boats allegedly linked to Venezuelan drug traffickers. Speaking at a cabinet meeting with President Donald Trump, Hegseth noted that strikes have been temporarily paused because drug smuggling vessels have become harder to locate, but emphasized that operations against traffickers will resume.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case and all these strikes. They're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Trump warned that any nation involved in sending illegal drugs into the United States could face military action. Referring specifically to cocaine shipments from Colombia, the president said that anyone responsible for moving such drugs into the country is subject to attack, underscoring his administration's hardline approach to combating narcotics trafficking.
If they come in through a certain country or any country, or if we think they're building mills for whether it's fentanyl or cocaine, I hear Colombia, the country of Colombia, is making cocaine. They have cocaine manufacturing plants, okay? And then they sell us their cocaine. We appreciate that very much. But yeah, anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack.
Pope Leo on Tuesday cautioned the Trump administration against trying to remove Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro through military action. Responding to questions about Trump's remarks on using force, Pope Leo said it was preferable to pursue dialogue and apply pressure through non-military means, including economic measures. Speaking to reporters aboard his flight back from his first official trip abroad, which included Turkey and Lebanon, he noted that Washington should look for alternative paths to encourage political change if that is its intention.
It seems that there was a conversation on the phone between two presidents. On the other hand, there is this danger, the possibility of an operation, including an invasion of Venezuelan territory. I don't know more. I believe once again that it is better to find ways to have dialogue, maybe pressure, including economic pressure. but searching for other ways to change, if this is what the United States is willing to do.
Por un lado,
Updates on Cyclone Ditwa now. Rescuers in Sri Lanka were still retrieving bodies from mud after last week's cyclone, the island's worst natural disaster in decades. Cyclone Ditwa lashed the country last week, bringing catastrophic floods and landslides that killed more than 460 people, left hundreds missing and damaged some 30,000 homes. Though the rain has stopped, recovery has just begun. The authorities have given top priority to reopening road access to the region, which is still supplied by air. More than 1 million people have been affected by the disaster, and President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has declared a state of emergency and appealed for international assistance. India continues to undertake search, rescue and relief operations in Sri Lanka under Operation Sagar Bandhu. The National Disaster Response Force teams worked at Sedawata and Nadigama areas near Colombo and rescued over 43 people so far. Further rescue efforts at this site are ongoing. With water levels at 8 to 10 feet and with strong flows, NDRF teams continue to save the most vulnerable and ensure every life is brought to safety. Offering a moment of calm amid the chaos of the floods, a NDRF rescue worker gently comforted a rescued infant. The infant and his family were rescued from an inaccessible flood-hit home by the NDRF team. Notably, the efforts by Indian rescue and relief teams are attracting accolades from both Sri Lankan and Indian government. In continuation of ongoing relief efforts, an Indian Air Force C-17 airlifted a para-field hospital with equipment and 73 medical personnel from Agra to Colombo on Tuesday. Indian Air Force Mi-17 helicopters transported 8,250 kilograms of essential supplies and evacuated 60 survivors and 5 children, including 3 Australian and 2 German nationals, along with critically ill patients and a pregnant woman. Indian Air Force remains steadfast in delivering timely and effective humanitarian assistance and disaster relief support. As part of the India's commitment of neighborhood first, special contingent of Indian Army has reached Sri Lanka to undertake the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. The contingent from the Shatrujit Brigade will provide critical relief, restore essential services and support families in Sri Lanka affected by Cyclone Ditwa. The mission embodies India's civilizational pledge of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, as the Indian Army stands firmly with Sri Lanka in its hour of need. All right, and Dr. Ahmed Muin Faruqi tells us more from Colombo.
He's right. You see, Operation Sagar Bandhu has been a lifeline for Sri Lanka. Yesterday, the Air Force aircrafts have rescued stranded people, including children, patients, pregnant women from various places, as well as delivered tons of emergency ration to places which are cut off by flooding as well as landslides. In addition, you know, the NDRF teams in both places, Badulla as well as near the Kelani River's banks, they have helped in every which manner to conduct their operations of search and rescue and relief. One place they have rescued about 43 people yesterday who were stuck in floods which were about 6 to 8 feet deep. On the other hand, the NDRF team in Badulla, they have managed to again search under a huge debris of about 7 to 8 feet, under which they could manage to retrieve another remains of another deceased person. So the amount of activity that India has been coordinating has been huge. That at a time when the death toll has crossed 465, and that is something which is remarkable in the way that India has shown its resolve as a first responder. Apart from this, yesterday the Indian High Commissioner Santosh Jha, he met people who were stuck in places which were reeling under floods he interacted with them. He also interacted with the NDRF team, and he tried to understand what is the situation in the places where the floods were causing huge damage to various houses and bringing the life to a standstill. Considering all this, we also have to understand that the medical reasons also will be something which will be important as of now, given that the Disaster Management Center has said that medical issues will also be in the forefront after the floods, as waterborne diseases would be prevalent at this point of time. Now we also have to understand that India's a field hospital setup has been received in Sri Lanka. It's been deployed at Mahanganaya, which is in the central province. Mahanganaya's hospital was inundated because of floods, and several parts of the hospital were destroyed also. So this field hospital setup will definitely help quite a lot in ensuring that essential medical care will be available to people, especially in those places where medical facilities are currently not available.
This is developing. We'll keep taking updates from you throughout the day, and still to come on DD India Newshour. Israel receives remains of what is believed to be a deceased hostage. We'll tell you about how Australia is planning to implement social media ban in the country and how it is being perceived by the citizens. Louvre unveils renovated galleries of 17th and 18th century Italian and Spanish paintings and more. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Israel received the remains of what is believed to be a deceased hostage from Hamas in Gaza via the Red Cross. In a statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that its forces in Gaza have received what it described as findings that would be taken into Israel for forensic testing. A convoy carrying the remains arrived at the country's National Forensics Institute for identification. The two remaining deceased hostages and Israeli police officer Ran Gvili and Thai national Sutisak Rinthalak, both kidnapped during Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. If confirmed as a hostage, this would leave the remains of one hostage still held in Gaza. Belgian police detained former European Union Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini and a current senior EU diplomat as part of a fraud investigation that included raids at several sites. The European Public Prosecutor's Office said that the investigation focused on suspected fraud related to EU-funded training for junior diplomats. It involved searches at the EU's diplomatic service in Brussels, at the College of Europe, and at the House of Suspects. Mogherini was the EU's High Representative for Foreign and Security Policy and head of its diplomatic service from 2014 to 2019. Prosecutor's office said there were strong suspicions that confidential information was shared during the process with one of the candidates participating in the tender. European Union negotiators say they have reached a deal to phase out Russian gas imports by 2027, aiming to end the bloc's reliance on Moscow for energy. The European Council announced on Wednesday that it has struck an agreement with the European Parliament to cut Russian gas imports in stages over the next 3 years. The plan includes a binding prohibition on imports of liquefied natural gas from the end of 2026, followed by a full stop to pipeline gas purchases by autumn 2027. The move follows a sharp decline in Russian gas deliveries since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, dropping to 12% of EU imports compared with 45% before the conflict. Hungary, France and Belgium remain among the member states still receiving Russian gas. The suspect accused of shooting 2 National Guard members in an ambush in downtown Washington, D.C. last week was charged with murder and other offences. The accused made his first court appearance, appearing remotely from a hospital bed. A judge ordered Ramanullah Lakanwal held in custody without bond, citing the sheer terror of the shooting blocks from the White House that killed 1 member of the National Guard and critically injured a second. Lakanwal pleaded not guilty to all charges. He is facing 4 criminal counts, including first-degree murder and assault with intent to kill while armed. Honduras's electoral authorities are under pressure from Donald Trump as they continue counting votes for presidential election. The U.S. president accuses officials of trying to change the result claims. Honduras's National Electoral Council says technical delays have slowed vote count, but stresses the final result will follow the country's legal procedures. Early tallies show very tight race between Nasri Asfura and Salvador Nasrallah. Trump's comments supporting Asfura and warning against changes to the results have added pressure, though no evidence of interference has been presented. European Union's observers are urging all sides to remain patient as officials work toward an accurate and transparent final count. Haiti is taking a major step toward restoring democracy, announcing plans to hold its first national elections in nearly a decade. Haiti's transitional authorities have set August 2026 for the country's first elections in nearly a decade, but officials warn the vote can only happen if security improves. Haiti hasn't voted since 2016 and 2021 assassination of President Moise deepened its political crisis. Leaders say the new decree offers a path back to stability as the UN reports more than 16,000 people killed in gang violence since 2022. As Australia prepares to implement its social media ban, many young people fear losing online communities they rely on for support, warning the policy may create more harm than protection. More than 1 million accounts belonging to users under 16 will be shut down on December 10 when Australia enacts its world-first ban on platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook and Instagram. The government says the measure aims to safeguard teenagers' mental health, citing research showing excessive social media use fuels misinformation, cyberbullying and harmful body image content. But the rollout, coming just 5 days before public school students begin their 6-week summer break, has intensified concerns that teens may feel even more isolated at a time when they rely heavily on digital connection.
It's going to be worse for queer people and people with niche interests, I guess, because that's the only way they can find their community. And some people also use it to vent their feelings and talk to people to get help or something. So I feel it would be fine for some people, but for some people it would worsen their mental health because you're sending the isolated, alone people back.
Many people now and even before now have been very attached to social media, and some people use it as a lifeline for escaping reality and entering digital world.
For me, it was my community and my lifeline. Social media was the place that I went to when I needed people to talk to who understood me.
Chile's parliament on Tuesday passed legislation banning students from using smartphones on school grounds, joining a growing number of countries tightening rules over concerns about children's mental and physical well-being. The bill was overwhelmingly backed in the Chamber of Deputies and is expected to be signed soon by President Gabriel Boric, who supports the measure. Set to take effect next March, the ban will apply to all public and private primary and secondary schools, which officials say are facing a pandemic of tech-related problems among youth. Lawmaker Diego Schalper, he said, phone use fuels online addiction and disrupts learning. Another legislator said the restriction aims to improve students' focus, academic performance, social interaction and emotional health. Exceptions will apply only for emergencies, medical needs or special education requirements. Nepal's government has decided to observe Gen Z Martyr Day on Bhadra 23 every year in honor of those who lost their lives in the recent protests. Additionally, Nepal's Minister for Communications and Information Technology announced on Tuesday that the government will provide identity cards to the martyrs' families. He also stated that the classification of injured individuals from the protests has been completed. The Kathmandu District Administration Office will forward the classification to the Ministry of Health and Population, which will decide on the required services and social security for those on the list. The third edition of the World Peace Programme is scheduled to be organized in Nepal's Lumbini and Ramgram from January 11. The Promised Land Foundation is organizing the three-day event with a call for peace, for a prosperous future, business networking and for fortune generation for local development. UN cultural ambassadors, global business leaders, Buddhist scholars from across the world will attend the event. The third edition of the event is expected to highlight Nepal's spiritual heritage, peace and prosperity, and provide a platform for business networking. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A rare natural event is changing the look of Rio de Janeiro as talipot palms, a tree that blooms only once in their lives, are flowering around the city. At the city's botanical garden, 2 of the 3 palms are now in bloom, something that hasn't happened there since 2010. After they finish flowering, the trees will die, but new seedlings will grow and continue the cycle. The Louvre on Tuesday unveiled renovated galleries of 17th and 18th century Italian and Spanish paintings and unveiled its new Gallery of the 5 Continents. The space features more than 200 sculptures from Africa, the Americas, Asia, Europe and Oceania. The pieces come from the Louvre and partner museums after years of renovation. Nevada reached a milestone on Tuesday as a tree from the state was lit on the U.S. Capitol's West Lawn for the first time since the tradition began in 1964. A 9-year-old boy, Grady Armstrong, winner of the Capitol Christmas Tree Essay Contest, joined officials to flip the switch of the 53-foot red fir, nicknamed Silver Bell. A Fabergé Imperial winter egg commissioned by Tsar Nicholas II as an Easter gift to his mother sold for a record $30 million at auction on Tuesday. Carved in rock crystal and adorned with rose-cut diamond set platinum snowflake decorations, the winter egg is considered one of Fabergé's finest creations for the imperial family. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Advocate Madhav Khurana has been appointed by the Union Home Ministry as the Special Public Prosecutor for conducting trial and other matters in Delhi car blast case. Preparations are on for Russian President Vladimir Putin's 2-day visit to India beginning Thursday. CEC Ganesh Kumar interacts with the Indian community in Sweden before assuming chairpersonship of International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance today.
So our episode is on accountability more than just an apology text.
Yep.
We didn't get one, did we?
If no British politician has the courage to issue an apology, get somebody from the royal family to do it, because after all, everything was done in the name of the crown. No one likes to be told that in their family tree there are a lot of skeletons. They have never allowed themselves to confront the horrors of their past, so I'm sorry to say we never got the apology. There is not just amnesia on the part of the British, the colonizers, but there is some forgetfulness or ignorance on the part of the rest of us too.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
save your country.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Russia-US talks on Ukraine peace plan yield no breakthrough. Kremlin says no compromise reached on territory. Trump calls Ukraine conflict a mess. Dissent among US lawmakers as military continue to surge assets to the Caribbean. Lawmakers threaten vote on war powers. Trump warns US drug trafficking countries could face attack. Indian Navy will showcase its operational might across all domains as the force begins celebrations in Thiruvananthapuram ahead of the Navy Day. President Draupadi Murmu to grace the occasion. India I series win as they take on South Africa in the second one-day international in Raipur today. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju said that Lok Sabha will take up a debate on the 150th anniversary of the national song Vande Mataram on Monday and electoral reforms on Tuesday next week. The decision was taken at an all-party meeting and a business advisory committee chaired by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. The discussion on Vande Mataram will be held from Monday noon and the discussion on electoral reform from Tuesday noon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will initiate the debate on 150 years of Vande Mataram. Minister Rijiju says that 10 hours each have been allotted to both the debates, adding that the duration could be extended if the House deems it fit.
The all-party floor leaders meeting called by Honorable Speaker was very fruitful, and we all agreed that there will be a special discussion on 150th anniversary of national song Vande Mataram on Monday. The discussion will start at 12 noon and the discussion will go on for the full day.
On the day 3 of the session, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Central Excise Amendment Bill 2025 for consideration and passage in the lower house. The bill was tabled in the House on Monday. Apart from the other legislative businesses, many papers will also be laid in both houses of Parliament. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today highlighted how the contribution of Indians abroad is reshaping the country's economic engagement with the world. Speaking at the India's World Annual Conclave 2025, Dr. Jaishankar said that in a globalized world, conversations around external engagement often focus heavily on trade while overlooking the massive impact on human mobility and overseas employment. He pointed out that India received a record $135 billion in remittances last year, nearly double the value of exports to the United States. His remarks highlight the growing recognition of India's global workforce as a critical pillar of its external economic engagement.
Last year, remittances to India were $135 billion. That's about roughly twice our exports to the United States. Now, it's just the remittances, because think of the people abroad, their own livelihood, the assets they have created there, the services which have been generated in India, the second, third order consequences of all this. And I leave it to you to actually imagine what is the size of this business which is called mobility.
Shangumugam Beach in southern India's Thiruvananthapuram is all set to witness the grand celebrations of Indian Navy Day on Wednesday. President Draupadi Murmu will grace the Navy Day celebrations and witness the operational demonstration by the Indian Navy. Demonstrating Indian Navy's operational might, the celebration will feature a striking display of maritime power by warships, naval aircraft and submarines, high-speed maneuver by Hawks, fighter jets, combat freefall and slithering demonstration showcasing synergy of land-sea operations and firings by warships would be the key highlights of the event. The operational demonstration aims to bring forth the indomitable spirit and core strength of Indian Navy as combat-ready, cohesive, Atmanirbhar, safeguarding seas for a Viksit Samriddha Bharat. The demonstration would highlight the maritime excellence of state-of-the-art indigenous platforms, proudly symbolizing Atmanirbhar Bharat. Updates on Delhi blast case now. The Union Home Ministry on Tuesday appointed senior advocate Madhav Khurana as the special public prosecutor for conducting trial and other matters in the case related to the November 10 car blast near the Red Fort. As per the government orders, Khurana has been appointed special public prosecutor for 3 years on behalf of the National Investigation Agency to conduct trial and other legal matters before the NIA Special Court and the Delhi High Court. 7 key accused have been arrested in the Red Fort blast case so far, while 73 witnesses, including those injured in the blast, have been examined by the NIA so far. Preparations are on for Russian President Vladimir Putin's 2-day visit to India beginning Thursday. The Kremlin spokesperson says that trade would figure high on the agenda of the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. Akhilesh Suman reports from New Delhi.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday said that during his upcoming visit to India, Russian President Vladimir Putin will discuss both bilateral and international issues with Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
India for us is a great partner, and we do hope that the visit of President Putin will be successful. As successful was the visit of Prime Minister Modi 1 year ago to Moscow. President and Prime Minister had a very good possibility to spend lots of hours together discussing the most sensitive issues of the global and regional agenda. We hope that this will be the case for New Delhi meeting the day after tomorrow.
Addressing a virtual press conference organized by Sputnik News, Peskov said there's vast potential for cooperation between India and Russia, ranging from small nuclear reactors and military equipment to various goods and services. Peskov reiterated that sanctions imposed on Russia by the US and the EU are illegal, as they have not been authorized by the United Nations. Peskov also said that Putin will also share a first-hand assessment of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and the efforts to resolve it.
We do appreciate the position and the stand of India vis-à-vis Ukrainian settlement and Ukrainian affair. We do appreciate the readiness of New Delhi to contribute to a search of peaceful solution in this very complicated conflict. And we do respect the position of Prime Minister Modi, and we do respect the possibility of exchanging information from the first hands between himself and our president, and we hope that this practice will continue.
Business leaders from both the countries will meet in Delhi to explore deeper business-to-business partnerships which could help narrow the trade imbalance which currently favors Russia. Akhilesh Suman's report, DD India.
India and Russia share a 78-year legacy of stable, time-tested partnership. The bond between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin reflects the depth of this strategic partnership, strengthened further through annual summits and the 2+2 dialogue. Their regular high-level engagement continues to drive cooperation across political, defense, economic and technological domains. In the next report, Mohammad Absarul Hassan explores new dimensions of India-Russia relations.
Russia has been a long-standing and time-tested partner for India. Under the strategic partnership, several institutionalized dialogue mechanisms operate at both political and official levels to ensure regular interaction and follow-up on cooperation activities. The bilateral relationship has remained strong and stable over the past 78 years. In December 2021, a new dimension to the bilateral cooperation was added with the first 2+2 dialogue. Meetings of foreign and defense ministers of both countries started taking place alongside the summit-level talks between Prime Minister Modi and President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. So far, 22 annual summits have taken place alternatively in India and Russia. The last summit was held on July 8 and 9, 2024 in Moscow, and President Putin is set to visit India for the 23rd summit in New Delhi. Bilateral trade between India and Russia reached a record high of $68.7 billion in FY 2024-25. India's exports to Russia, $4.9 billion.
India's imports from Russia, US dollar 63.8 billion. Major items of export from India include pharmaceuticals, organic and inorganic chemicals, iron and steel, and marine products. Major items of import from Russia include oil and petroleum products, vegetable oil, particularly sunflower oil, fertilizers, coking coal, precious stones, and metals. The primary mechanism at the government level for enhancing trade and economic cooperation is the India Russia Intergovernmental Commission for Trade, Economic, Scientific, and Cultural Cooperation. Intensifying the trade and economic relations has been identified as a priority area by both the leaders, who had set the targets of increasing bilateral investment to 50 billion US dollars by 2025 and bilateral trade to 100 billion US dollars by 2030. India has long-standing and wide-ranging cooperation with Russia in the field of defense. India-Russia military technical cooperation has evolved from a buyer-seller framework to one involving joint research, development and production of advanced defense technologies and systems. RM and Russian Defense Minister co-chaired the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation. INS Turshil was commissioned into Indian Navy in the presence of RM at the Yantar shipyard in Kaliningrad on 9th of December 2024. On 28 March to 2nd of April 2025, the bilateral naval exercise Indra 2025 between Indian and Russian navies was conducted in two phases: Harbour phase at Chennai and Sea phase in Bay of Bengal. Science and technology has played a key role in the bilateral India-Russia partnership, especially in the early days after India's independence. India and Russia work together on basic sciences, material science, mathematics, and cutting-edge areas like India's manned spaceflight program Gaganyaan, nanotechnologies, etc. India's only nuclear power plant established with another country is in Kundankulam in Tamil Nadu, which is established in collaboration with Russia. The bilateral cooperation is guided by the new roadmap for science, technology and innovation signed during the 21st Annual Summit in New Delhi in December 2021. In 2024, Prime Minister Modi was conferred upon Russia's highest state decoration, the Order of Saint Andrew the Apostle, the first called for Prime Minister's outstanding contribution to India-Russia ties. Apart from arms and trade, cultural ties from Russia's love for Indian movies to scholarship programs and tourism have helped the two nations to maintain strong relations despite ups and downs. Around 63,000 people of Indian origin live in Russia. Mohammad Absarul Hassan reports for DT India. India's Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar is set to take over as the President of the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA, on Wednesday in Stockholm, Sweden. Earlier, the Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar interacted with Indian business community at the Embassy of India in Sweden. The Indian CEC will assume the chairmanship of the International IDEA later today. Gyanesh Kumar also met with Secretary General of International IDEA, Dr. Kevin Casas Zamora. He briefed the Indian CEC about the agenda for the 34th session of the Council of Member States to be held on Wednesday. For the first time in its history of 30 years, the group of 37 democratic countries of the world have invited India to chair the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, International IDEA. This development is seen as a significant global recognition of the Election Commission of India and its workforce for consistently delivering independent, transparent and credible elections. Let's take a look at other stories making news. A major archaeological excavation is underway at Zehanpora in North Kashmir's Baramulla district. The site, believed to contain Buddhist-era remains from the Kushan period, has yielded nearly 2,000-year-old artifacts offering fresh insights into Kashmir's Buddhist past. The district administration says the excavation, expected to continue for the next 2 to 3 years, promises important revelations about the valley's rich heritage. A disaster-ready school safety campaign has been launched across 6 districts of Delhi to strengthen preparedness and response systems in educational institutions. The first phase will cover more than 2,000 schools, where a structured 2-day training and mock drill module has begun. On the first day, on Tuesday, students presented an earthquake safety demonstration using the drop cover hold technique. The 36th Konark Festival and the 15th International Sand Art Festival is underway in Puri, celebrating Odisha's rich legacy of classical dance and sand artistry. Eminent artists from across the country are presenting classical dance forms against the majestic backdrop of UNESCO's World Heritage Site, the Sun Temple of Konark. The annual festival is regarded as one of India's finest cultural celebrations, blending devotion, creativity and pride in a truly magical setting. Tiruvannamalai city in Tamil Nadu will celebrate the Kartikai Deepam festival today. Inside the temple, priests are conducting elaborate rituals for the Mahadeepam, the large copper lamp vessel that will later be filled with ghee and cotton wicks and carried to the peak for the traditional lighting. The Deepam is central to the festival, symbolizing the manifestation of Lord Shiv as divine light. And still to come on DD India Newshour. US President Donald Trump introduces White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett as potential Federal Reserve Chair at a White House meeting. India continued their unbeaten run and qualify for the quarter-final of the Hockey Junior World Cup after beating Switzerland 5-0 in their final league match in Madurai. And we will tell you about Chillai Kalan. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and some business updates now. US President Donald Trump introduced White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett as a potential Federal Reserve Chair at a White House meeting. Earlier, Trump said he would be announcing his selection for the next chair of the Federal Reserve early next year. In remarks at a cabinet meeting, Trump also said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent does not want that job. Financial markets have recently focused on National Economic Advisor and White House aide Kevin Hassett as the front-runner.
For being here. It's a great group. And I guess a potential Fed chair is here too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin.
The three-day Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Reserve Bank of India begins in Mumbai today. The members of the committee will hold detailed discussions on the future course of monetary policy, taking into account the latest data on GDP growth and inflation. The policy outcome will be announced by RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra on Friday. The meeting comes at a time when India's economic performance remains strong and inflation has fallen sharply. You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for some sports news. India I series win as they square off with South Africa in a second one-day international in Raipur today. India are not expected to tinker with a winning combination after their victory in the first match. If they do make a change, it might be a choice between Washington Sundar and Nitish Kumar Reddy, but that will also depend on the due factor. But with the unpredictability of the toss, India might go with an unchanged side. Meanwhile, South Africa will look to tighten up the areas that cost them the first match. With a deep batting lineup and Temba Bavuma's return to leadership, they will aim to bounce back. Another change they might make is replacing Prinellan Subriyan with the spinner Keshav Maharaj. India lead the three-match series 1-0. All right, and DD India's Narayan Singh joins us live. Hi Narayan, a very good morning to you. Second match of the three-match series which will be played in Raipur today. How do you analyze this match, Narayan? India will look to continue the winning momentum, and on the other hand, South Africa will look to balance this series. What's important? What are the key players, and how is the pitch behaving?
Good morning, Siddharth. It's a very important match for India. As if India today wins this match, definitely they will seal the series because it's a three-match series. As we know that last match, it was a thriller and high-scoring total between both the teams, and we saw it was the highest aggregate total between in any ODI between India and South Africa. So India played fantastic in that match, scoring a big run, especially from the Virat Kohli. But we know that in that match we did few mistakes, especially in the middle overs, the kind of bowling we did, and we saw that the way Marco Jansen thrashed over bowlers, and at one point in time it was looking like that South Africa may win that match, but it was nightmarish to bowl in such condition because dew was a factor that, and today also in this match in the evening, the team which will bowl second, definitely that will be a disadvantage for that team. So I think toss is going to be crucial, and we know that India's luck with the toss in the last match, they lost the toss 19 consecutive times, and that was also a factor that we can say that was not an advantageous thing for the team India, because bowling second in such condition always puts you on a back foot, and exactly that happened with the India. But kudos to our veterans, the way Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli played. Virat Kohli, fantastic knock, scoring another century under his belt. So their duo was at the rescue, but kudos to the way our bowlers, especially Kuldeep and Harshit Rana, bowled. So today I think that India will not look to tinker their playing combination. In that match we saw there were 3 pacers and 3 spinners. They will go with that, and tinkering with their playing 11 at this juncture of the tournament, I think it's not up to the mark. It's not good for the team, because in 2027 India is going to host the ODI World Cup. In that context too, if Rituraj was not able to score in that match, if we at least should give 4 or 5 matches to a player to show his strength, to show his class, because by 1 or 2 matches we can't count a player's merit.
Definitely, Narayan, toss will be very crucial in today's match, and we'll have to wait and see whether India will seal the series or will South Africa make a comeback. Thank you so much. We leave it there. India continued their unbeaten run and qualified for the quarter-final of the Hockey Junior World Cup after beating Switzerland 5-0 in their final league match in Madurai. Manmeet Singh and Sharda Nand Tiwari bagged a brace, while Arshdeep Singh netted India's other goal. India topped Pool B with 9 points from 3 games. They had beaten Chile and Oman in their first 2 matches and are yet to concede a goal in the tournament. India will face Belgium in the quarter-final in Chennai on Friday. India have won the Junior World Hockey Cup twice, with their last triumph coming in 2016 when the tournament was held in Lucknow. The Indian women's hockey team will aim to continue their winning streak as they face Germany in the FIH Junior Women's World Cup in Santiago City of Chile today. India began their campaign with a comprehensive 13-0 win against Namibia, while Germany thrashed Ireland 7-1. For the first time in the tournament's history, 24 teams contest for the title. The teams have been split into 6 pools of 4 sides each. India have been placed in Pool C with inaugural champions Germany, Ireland and Namibia. After round-robin matches, the 6 group winners and the 2 best runners-up teams will progress to the quarterfinals. The most severe part of the winter in Kashmir consists of 3 months. It is divided into 3 parts: the Chillai Kalan, the Chillai Khurd and the Chillai Bashe. Let's take a look at the weather conditions prevailing in Jammu and Kashmir as Chillai Kalan a few weeks away. Kashmir Valley continues its tryst with early winter onset.
Srinagar's tryst with an early winter onset continues, with the city recording a minimum of -2.5 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. Fresh snowfall in the higher reaches of the valley added to the winter chill. Overnight cloud cover, however, provided slight relief, raising minimum temperatures by nearly 2 degrees across the region. The early arrival of intense cold conditions has added to the challenges of daily life, with locals finding it hard to move around.
बहुत मुश्किलात आ रही है, सुबह शाम बहुत सर्दी हो रही है और रात में भी माइनस में चला जाता है, तो सुबह निकलने में बहुत दिक्कत आ रही है, स्कूल जाने में, ट्यूशन जाने में या कॉलेज जाने में या कोई मजदूरी के लिए निकलता है तो बहुत दिक्कत आ रही है सुबह शाम। बहुत ज़्यादा जल्दी पड़ गई, ये मेरे ख्याल से जनवरी में होती थी ऐसी ठंड जो पहली आ गई नवंबर से ही स्टार्ट होगी।
ठंड तो बहुत है अभी, तो मुश्किल ही होता है आज, चलने में भी मुश्किलात होते हैं और अगर रूम पे होते हैं वहाँ पर भी मुश्किलात होती है। अब तो ये सहना पड़ेगा, अब करेंगे क्या कि इसके बारे में क्या बोलेंगे हम। ये तो होता रहता है यहाँ पे, ये कुछ महीने होते हैं ठंड के, मगर पिछले साल से ज़्यादा ही इस साल में ज़्यादा ठंड है।
Chillai Kala, the 40-day period of harshest winter, is set to begin from December 21st as usual, but locals say they're already experiencing similar conditions. With sub-zero nights expected to continue, the valley is bracing for a harsh winter ahead.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.